offerings and stuff, okay? Well, I can't deal with that right now. So anyway, put over the altar and burned. But the priest can eat of specific pieces of it. Now, we'll get into more of that here in a few minutes, what specific pieces they can eat. This last section talked about it depending on what kind of offering it is. They can eat of it the first day and of the second day, but by the third day, it's got to be burned. It can't be tossed. It has to be and onions. I hate to tell you people this, but I had to pitch out the last of the chili last night. Yeah. Well, guess what? Here comes Sunday, right? We're going to have what? More food. Now, I bought chicken thighs this time instead of chicken breast. Is that okay? It's still gonna eat the same, right? Okay. Yes, please. Oh, yeah. It's an egg-shaped device, about this tall, has a lot of lumps around the sides, and there's a little pin at the top. Just pull the pin and wait. Anyway, what verse? What? What verse am I on? 19. Flesh that touches any unclean thing shall not be eaten. It shall be burned up with fire. All who are clean may eat flesh, but the person who eats the flesh of the sacrifice of the Lord's peace offerings, while an uncleanness is on him, that person shall be cut off from his people. And if anyone touches an unclean thing, whether human uncleanliness or an unclean beast or any unclean detestable creature, and then eats some flesh of the sacrifice of the Lord's peace offerings, that person shall be cut off from his people. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, saying, You shall eat no fat of ox or sheep or goat, the fat of an animal that dies of itself, and the fat of the one that is torn by beasts may be put to any other use, but on no account shall you eat it. For every person who eats of the fat of the animal, of which a food offering may be made to the Lord, shall be cut off from his people. Moreover, you shall eat no blood. Mine says whatever, and I want to say whatsoever. Just a English thing of mine. Anyway, whether of fowl or of animal in any of your dwelling places. Whoever eats any blood, that person shall be cut off from his people. Stop. It's talking about rare meat, right? But what? No, Mother, I'm teaching a class. Yeah, so shh. So, I'm sorry to my Irish friends, but blood sausage? No. Yes, it's congealed blood. Yes. Anyway, what verse am I? 28. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, saying, Whoever offers the sacrifice of his peace offerings to the Lord shall bring his offering to the Lord from the sacrifice of his peace offering. His own hands shall bring the Lord's food offerings. He shall bring the fat with the beast, that the beast may be waved as a wave offering before the Lord. A wave offering, okay. The priest shall burn the fat on the altar, and the beast shall be for Aaron and his son. Do you get the idea that all of a sudden these priests get to eat good? Now, there is a caveat to that. You'll find out as we get through in chapter 8 that they have very specific requirements that if they eat more than they're hungry for, it's a sin. Yep, gluttony is where we'll get to. A lot of fasting and a lot of fattening, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and the right thigh you shall give the priest as a contribution from the sacrifice of your peace offerings. Stop. The right thigh. Is that front or back? I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Offerings, and the fat shall have the right thigh for a portion. For the breast that is waved and the thigh that is contributed I have taken from the people of Israel out of the sacrifices of their peace offerings, and have given them to Aaron the priest and to his sons as a perpetual, thank you, get the word out, perpetual due from the people of Israel. This is the portion of Aaron and of his sons from the Lord's food offering. From the day they were presented to serve as the priests of the Lord commanded this to be given them by the people of Israel. From the day that he anointed them, it is perpetual due throughout their generations. Even to today is what that would translate as. This is the law of the burnt offering, of the grain offering, of the sin offering, of the guilt offering, of the ordination offering, and of the peace offering, which the Lord commanded Moses on Mount Sinai, on the day that he commanded the people of Israel to bring their offerings to the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai. Not sure what she's trying to do. Whew. As if that were not enough, chapter 8. There's more. This is just the start, people. That's what I was trying to tell you. Chapter 8 deals with the consecration of Aaron and his sons. And you'll see the specific rules again that they have. So it says in verse 1, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments, and the anointing oil, and the bull of the sin offering, and the 2 rams, and the baskets of unleavened bread, and assemble all the congregation at the entrance of the tent of meeting. Moses did as the Lord commanded him, and the congregation was assembled at the entrance of the tent of meeting. How many people? It's 2.5 to 3 million. Yeah. Yep. So, and Moses said to the congregation, this is the thing that the Lord has commanded to be done. And Moses brought Aaron and his sons and washed them with water. Where's the water kept? In that big basin that starts with the Y. I can't think of it, but at the opening of the tent, right. And he put the coat on him and tied the sash around his waist and clothed him with the robe and put the ephod on him and tied the skillfully woven band of the ephod around him, binding it to him with the band. And he placed the breastpiece, hard time with that one, breastpiece on him, and in the breastpiece he put the Urim and the Thummim. In addition to the Urim and the Thummim, what else does it have on it? How many stones total? Really? No. There's 12 here, one here, and then the Urim and the Thummim in a pocket, pouch kind of thing, right? So, okay. So, you guys are remembering. Very good. Very good. All right. Where am I? And he set the turban on his head, and on the turban in the front he set the golden plate and the holy crown as the Lord commanded Moses. Then Moses took the anointing oil and anointed the tabernacle and all that was in it, and consecrated them. Remember, consecrated, set apart, to be made holy. And he sprinkled some of it on the altar 7 times. There's a reoccurring thing about 7 times. You'll find out, right? And he sprinkled some of it on the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar and all of its utensils, and the basin and its stand, to consecrate them. And he poured some of the anointing oil on Aaron's head, and anointed him to consecrate him. And Moses brought Aaron's sons and clothed them with the coats and tied the sashes around their waist. What does laying of the hands on the head symbolize? Transferring of the sins into the animal. And he killed it And Moses took the blood and with his finger put it on the horns of the altar around it and purified the altar and poured out the blood at the base of the altar and consecrated it to make the anointment for it. And he took all the fat that was on the entrails and the long lobe of the liver and the 2 kidneys with their fat, and Moses burned them on the altar. But the bull and its skin and its flesh and its dung he burned up with fire outside the camp, as the Lord commanded Moses. Then he presented the ram of the burnt offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram, and he killed it. And Moses threw the blood against the side of the altar, and he cut the ram into pieces. And Moses burned the head and the pieces and the fat, and he washed the entrails with the legs with water. And Moses burned the whole ram on the altar. It was a burnt offering with a pleasing aroma, a food offering for the Lord, as the Lord had commanded. Mama, I'm right in the middle of it. I'm right in the middle of the lesson. Just hang on. Just hang on. As the Lord commanded Moses. Then he presented to the other ram, I'm confused, the ram of ordination, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram, and he killed it, and Moses took some of the blood and put it on the lobe of Aaron's right ear. Okay, that's different. Hey, come here, boy. Put some blood on your ear. All right? And on the thumb of his right hand, and on the big toe of his right foot. Now, tomorrow, the big toe on my right foot is going to have blood injected into it. Try to save it. Yeah. So be in prayer for me tomorrow. That's for later. Then he presented Aaron's son, and Moses put some of the blood on the lobes of the right ears and the thumbs and the right hands and the big toes of the right feet. And Moses Moses threw the blood against the sides of the altar. Then he took the fat and the fat tail and all the fat that was on the entrails and the long lobe of the liver and the 2 kidneys with their fat and the right thigh. Random. And out of the basket of unleavened bread that was before the Lord, he took 1 unleavened loaf. Be kind of flat, wouldn't it? Flat loaf, right? And placed them on the pieces of fat on the right thigh. And he put all these in the hands of Aaron and in the hands of his sons and waved them as a wave offering to the Lord. Then Moses took them from their hands and burned them on the altar with the burnt offering. This was an ordination offering with a pleasing aroma, a food offering to the Lord. And Moses took the breast and waved it for a wave offering before the Lord. It was Moses' portion of the ram of ordination, and as the Lord commanded Moses. Then Moses took some of the anointing oil and of the blood that was on the altar and sprinkled it on Aaron and his garments, and also on his sons and his sons' garments. So he consecrated Aaron and his garments and his sons' garments with them, just to make them priests. Okay? Track along with me here, folks, because we have to do this to James. Okay, if James is going to be a minister, there's an ordination service he has to go through. This is it. Well, not just him. Aren't you glad we don't have to do this anymore? This is not what this is not what we have to do, but this is what they had to do. Well, we'll cook a hamburger and take a little blood and throw it in the ground. How about that? Yeah. Now, I am not making fun of these people. I am not. I'm having fun at thinking that we don't have to do it anymore. Okay? But this is very important to the Jewish people that they understand this. it is important to us to understand why we don't have to do it anymore. That's why I'm going over this, okay? So keep that in mind, right? So as the Lord commanded Moses. Was it 30? Then Moses took some of the anointing oil and of the blood that was on the altar and sprinkled it on Aaron and his garments and also on his sons and his sons' garments. So he consecrated Aaron and his garments and his sons' garments with him. And Moses said to Aaron and his sons, boil the flesh at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and there eat it. I got a song running through my head. It don't matter if it's baked or fried or boiled or whatever. Just eat it, right? All right, so, but the flesh at the entrance of the tent meeting, and there eat it, and the bread that is in the basket of ordination offerings, as I commanded, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat it, and what remains of the flesh, what? Shall eat it? Yep. And what remains of the flesh and the bread you shall burn up with the fire, and you shall not go outside the entrance of the tent of meeting for 7 days. Remember, that's 7 again, right? Until the days of the year ordination are completed, for it shall take 7 days to ordain you. Now, all of a sudden, it makes sense that they get all this stuff to eat, right? They're going to be stuck in this tent for 7 days. No, we're not going to do that to him. As he has been done today, as has been done today, the Lord has commanded to be done to make an atonement for you. At the entrance of the tent of meeting you shall remain day and night for 7 days, performing what the Lord has charged, so that you do not die, for so I have been commanded. Aaron and his sons did all the things that the Lord commanded by Moses. Makes it sound so simple when it says they did all the things that Moses commanded. It doesn't sound simple at all. That's a good point, Vicki. Listen, this is a lot of stuff they have to go through. If I went back and I asked you, what do they have to do with the grain offering? What do they have to do with the burnt offering? What do they have to do with the sin? We have no idea. But these people knew by heart what had to be done. Now, here's an interesting question. The temple, which takes the place of the tent of the meeting, was destroyed in 70 A.D. What have they been doing since then? Yes and no. She said rebuilding it. However, what I meant was, what are they doing about the offerings? They have suspended all of this and made up new rules, not according to what God told them. Yeah, so it's just kind of interesting. So what verse am I on, Sabrina? Oh, chapter 9. Okay, good. That's 1. On the 8th on the 8th day, Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. You ready to go, Pop? Here we go. The elders of Israel, and he said to Aaron, take for yourself a bull calf for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering, both without blemish, and offer them before the Lord. And say to the people of Israel, take a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old without blemish, for a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for peace offering, to sacrifice before the Lord, and a grain offering mixed with oil, for today the Lord will appear to you. Exactly. Take them from who? That's a good question. I don't know the answer to. Right. If I had to guess, it would be the descendants of Lot, right? Covers most of these people. Safe bet. and then because they had the greatest herds and flocks, right? What verse am I on now? 5. And they brought what Moses commanded in front of the tent of meeting, and all of the congregation drew near and stood before the Lord. And Moses said, this is the thing the Lord has commanded you to do, that the glory of the Lord may appear to you. Then Moses said to Aaron, draw near to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offerings, and make atonement for yourself and for the people, and bring the offering. I'll tell you in a minute. Of the people, and make atonement for them as the Lord commanded. Here's what goes through my mind while I'm sitting here doing this. I apologize. This is a good one. I'm looking here, and it says, Then Moses said to Aaron, Draw near to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make a telephone call for yourself. I'm like, that's not what that said. Dial in $4, trying to reach me. Anyway, so verse 8. So Aaron drew near to the altar and killed the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. And the sons of Aaron presented the blood to him, and he dipped his finger into blood and put it on the horns of the altar and poured out some of the blood at the base of the altar. But the fat of the kidneys and the long lobe of the liver and from the sin offering he burned on the altar, and the Lord, as the Lord commanded Moses. The flesh and the skin burned up with fire outside the camp, right? Then he killed the burnt offering, and Aaron's son handed him the blood, and he threw it against the sides of the altar, and they handed the burnt offering to him piece by piece, and the head, and he burned them on the altar. And he washed the entrails and the legs and burned them with the burnt offering on the altar. Then he presented the people's offering and took the goat of the sin offering that was for the people and killed it and offered it as a sin offering like the first one. And he presented the burnt offering and offered it according to the rule. And he presented the grain offering and took a handful of it and burned it on the altar beside the burnt offering of the morning. Then he killed the ox and the ram and the sacrifice of peace offerings for the people. And Aaron's sons handed him the blood, and he threw it against the sides of the altar. But the fat pieces of the ox and the ram and the fat tail, that which covers the entrails and the kidneys and the long lobe of the liver, they put the fat pieces on the breasts, and he burned the fat pieces on the altar. But the breasts and the right thigh Aaron waved for a wave offering before the Lord, as Moses commanded. Then Aaron lifted up his hands toward the people and blessed them. And he came down from offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings. And Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting. And when they came out, they blessed the people, and the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. And fire came out from before the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the pieces of fat on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted and fell to their faces. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the glory of the Lord came down and was sitting on the mercy seat. When the offerings were over, the glory of the Lord came out from behind the Holy of Holies, behind the holy place, to the altar, and consumed everything. And the people saw it. Do you think you could see the glory of the Lord and ever turn away from it? Really? So we want to say no, right? So we see the glory of the Lord not in this represented concept. But you can't tell me that you haven't seen something God created. Beautiful little baby. Person. Did you say a puppy and a kitten? Okay. That's where I was going. It's easy for us to sit here and think back and say, oh, there it was, but we didn't notice it at the time. People, I tell you, in this country, we don't see it as often as people in other countries, and I'll tell you why. Because when they hear the gospel of Jesus and they know what they've seen in their lives, they believe it wholeheartedly. We have to try to talk our way out of believing what we believe. The constant thing. Or talk our way into it, right? Any other questions? I know that was a bunch of reading tonight, and I apologize. It's just we need to go over it so we see how important it is what they did then and what Jesus did for us. Starting next week, we'll be back into bonehead maneuvers and how stupid can they be. All right? Yes, sir. Indulgences, okay? Okay. You're talking about something I have no idea about because you said of the Catholic faith. Right, we're Protestants, we're not Catholics, so I don't know. No, that's true. I have been around. Man said I've been around. He don't know half the deal. Anyway, I get around. Right, no, I understand that, and I can research that if you like. I have friends I can call and talk about it, but I have never considered the indulgences. But I will look into that. Yeah. All right, folks, I'll remind you that are going to be in town. This Sunday we have food. And we had, not to talk out of turn or anything, but we had a visitor Sunday late afternoon for our recovery beginnings. Don't forget about that. That's for any hurt, habit, or hang up anybody has. I encourage people to come to it. This person was brought by another person of this family, so that was good. So we should start seeing more and more people, right? Keep this ministry in your prayers. We're going to do personal and private prayer requests here in just a second. But as I started to say earlier, there's a lot of things going on that I can't tell you all about. But just know this, we're being moved. That's all I can say. We're being moved. Moved how? Moved in the Spirit. I don't know if you guys can feel it on Sunday mornings in here, but I can. I can feel it in here. And a lot of people have talked to me about that this week, that they feel it as soon as they walk in that door. People, this is a friendly place. This is a safe place to hear a dangerous message, as we say every week, right? So keep inviting people. I'm not going to put you on the spot today, but this is day 4. Yeah, I did that Monday when I sent out that first message. So invite people. This Sunday is a dinner. Next Sunday's Christmas, and we are having a regular service. We have a very special guest speaker that's that day. So I'm looking forward to that. And then January 1. January 1. There will be a new series start and okay, and a new way to worship. There will be a band.